In Europe, stand ready.
Hey, Joe, where are you headed tonight?
We're going over to the MWR club on base. Jensen's last night. We're gonna send him off with a bang.
You got a designated driver, right?
We're just gonna be driving on base.
Hey, you still need a sober driver, or you really will send Jensen off with a bang. The bang of prison bars, I mean. Besides, Army Europe MWR facilities have an awesome deal for DDs. They'll give your driver a wristband and free coffee and colas all night long.
Free? Maybe I'll be the designated driver tonight.
I got dibs on that coffee and cola.
But next time, I'm the designated driver.
24 minutes past the hour. Morning Newswatch rolling along on this Thursday, October 28th, a day that will, well, it won't quite live in infamy, but it will be a very historic day. Our last day of broadcast operations from our headquarters in Frankfurt, Germany, after some 50-odd years here in Frankfurt. AFN headquarters moving to Mannheim, Germany, and we're joined in the studios once again with a couple of stalwart AFNers from past and present. We've got Herb Glover in our studios. Herb, longtime broadcast operations director for the headquarters here in Frankfurt, and Herb has been here with AFN for about, well, you were here,
Actually,
Herb, 40
I served
years?
43 years here in Europe.
43 years in Europe.
43 years before I retired a year and a half ago.
And then we've got Gary Bautell, the current news director, and Gary has served with
about
AFN.
150, I think.
Gary's been around, and he was here when the first, well, when we operated out of the Hoogst Castle.
That's
just
right.
outside of Frankfurt. And then you got out of the Army. You were a specialist in those days.
Yep.
Got out of the Army, went back to the States, and then came back
That's
to
right.
Germany.
Sold furniture for a couple of months and got lucky and was hired as a newscaster.
And you were here in
back in the radio
1965
days,
then.
yeah.
1965. Now, Herb, before the break, the last time we were talking, we talked about the arduous move from BBC studios to mainland Europe, and there were some casualties as AFN moved across during the war.
There were indeed. Normally you don't think of broadcasters dying in battle, but like most wartime military outfits, AFN did suffer casualties. There was a man named Sergeant Keatle Jameson. He had the top of his mobile unit blown away while he was on assignment just after the liberation of Paris, and he suffered some minor injuries. The 7th Army AFN broadcast unit was often fired on by aircraft. One tragic occasion, an AFN sergeant named Jim McNally was killed while manning his station, and AFN reporters also flew bombing missions, and they jumped with airborne units. They haven't done that for a long time, I don't think.
I don't think so.
While accompanying a paratroop unit over France, correspondent Sergeant Pete Parrish was killed in the line of duty. And over the years, AFN would suffer other wartime losses as well.
AFN on the move with the troops as they crossed France into Germany. Now, when they got to Germany, eventually the war came to an end. And what happened then? How did they decide to keep AFN operational?
Well, by the end of the war, AFN began reconstituting itself on the European continent. They had transmitters everywhere. We had studios in Antwerp, in Biarritz, in Bremen, in Berlin, Chambéry, Caen in France, Frankfurt, Kassel, Le Havre, Lyon, Nancy, Nice, Nuremberg. I could go on. There was a whole list of studios and transmitters that served the remaining, what they call the constabulary force in the immediate months and years after the war.
They said that the Paris studio had a wonderful wine cellar.
Yeah.
And how was it determined then to make Frankfurt the headquarters?
Well, it was centrally located, and I think like any broadcast organization, you like to be close to your audience so you can serve that audience. AFN Frankfurt began operating on the 15th of July, 1945, and they were in a confiscated home right here in the city. And this was before AFN headquarters operations could move from London. A larger site was found, and there was a captain by the name of Cummings. He's credited with having discovered the romantic Höchster Castle, the Höchster Schloss, on the outskirts of Frankfurt.
Right, and was that place actually equipped and ready to go for broadcasting?
No, my gosh, no.
How long did it take to get that thing outfitted?
Well, they moved in quickly and went on the air very quickly, but as I was saying in an earlier segment here this morning, you couldn't flush toilets during the evening news because it could be heard all over Europe.
You know, I'm sorry, your question earlier about the reason why they settled in Frankfurt. Well, General Eisenhower was in Frankfurt, and the whole point was you had to be close to the flagpole because the commanders wanted to get their information out to the troops, and so they wanted AFN close at hand. And that's, of course, one of the problems we have right now in Frankfurt, you know, because the rest of the military has left us, and we have been pretty much away from the flagpole. So
A little bit isolated.
yeah,
Now,
so now we're getting back in where we can work a little closer with the commanders over here. Not that we don't, but it's geographically a little easier, and of course a lot easier for the troops who, you know, lost their support facilities as long as they've been here in Frankfurt.
well, I'd really like to talk more about the history of this facility in our next segment, which will be coming up in about 20 minutes. And we'll talk about this building, how it was determined to stay in Frankfurt, what this building meant to you folks over the years, having spent a good portion of your adult lives here. So, looking forward to talking about that. Coming up next here on Morning Newswatch, we're going to get you caught up with some latest news headlines stateside from the Associated Press. Stay with us on our final day of broadcasting from Frankfurt, Germany.
I'm Sandy Kozel. The curse is broken. The Boston Red Sox are the World Series champs, sweeping the series 4-0 by shutting out the Cardinals in St. Louis. Here's correspondent John Klobuchar.
The Boston Red Sox are World Series champions for the first time in 86 years. Johnny Damon hit the fourth pitch of the game over the fence in right center as the Red Sox beat the Cardinals 3-0. Derek Lowe silenced the Cardinals' bats over 7 innings, allowing 3 hits while striking out 4 and walking 1. Tony Womack hit a leadoff single against Lowe, but the right-hander retired the next 13 straight until Edgar Renteria has one out double in the 5th. Trot Nixon added a 2-run double for the Red Sox, who grabbed a first-inning lead in each game and never trailed in the series. Jason Marquis took the loss. The curse is over. The Red Sox are champions. John Klobuchar, St. Louis.
The presidential campaign found John Kerry in Cedar Rapids, Iowa Wednesday, declaring the Bush presidency has been a disaster for the middle class.
The wages of Americans under George Bush, for the first time in 70 years, have gone down every single year. George Bush has it backwards, and we're going to fix it.
At the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, President Bush said Kerry's turned away from the strong Democratic foreign policy course set by FDR and JFK.
During the last 20 years, in key moments of challenge and decision for America, Senator Kerry has chosen the position of weakness and inaction. With that record, he stands in opposition not just to me, but to the great tradition of the Democratic Party.
Bush will stump again in Michigan, then in Ohio and Pennsylvania Thursday. Kerry focuses his attention on Ohio. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat is said to be in serious condition with some kind of ailment. He collapsed Wednesday night and was unconscious for about 10 minutes. It's not clear what the 74-year-old leader's medical problem is, although there's been speculation of everything from the flu to cancer. This is AP Network News.
And this is AFN's Morning News Watch, 32 minutes past the hour. Army Sergeant Scott Malone reporting some of our top headlines. As calm seems to spread in a rebellious Iraqi slum, the U.S. Army is hoping to begin a $330 million improvement project there. But before the underground sewer and water project can start, military commanders want to locate the last of more than 1,000 homemade bombs hidden beneath Baghdad streets in Sadr City. Under a ceasefire and weapons amnesty plan, militants controlled by rebel cleric Muqtada al-Sadr agreed to disable and cart away the bombs. But Army officials say soldiers recently found dozens more explosives in a 4-block area. Meanwhile, a citywide civil military operation headed up by the 1st Cavalry Division is underway and helping Iraqi farmers near Baghdad. Army Sergeant Dave Larson reports.
They call it Operation Amber Waves, but it's not grain being delivered to Iraqi farmers. Actually, it's seeds and fertilizer. In one portion of eastern Baghdad alone, the 1st Battalion of the 82nd Field Artillery Regiment delivered more than 350 metric tons of seeds and fertilizer to area farmers. Seed and fertilizer was delivered to farmers throughout the region for more than a week. Making the delivery now is important as the fall planting season approaches the region. Besides delivering seeds and fertilizer, civil military affairs projects have been started to acquire better farm equipment, including tractors and combines. Steps have also been taken to establish farm cooperatives in the area in conjunction with the Iraqi Ministry of Agriculture. The operations officer from 1A2 Field Artillery, Major Michael Miller, said his unit made a promise to the people of eastern Baghdad to help them get them back on their feet, and that Operation Amber Waves is just the beginning. I'm Army Sergeant Dave Larson, 1st Cavalry Division, Baghdad.
Meanwhile, British troops appear to be making a pit stop on their way to Baghdad. Nearly 800 troops headed out yesterday on their redeployment from southern Iraq. Large flatbed trucks were seen on the road to the city of Nasiriyah, where the British forces appear to be overnighting. Nearly 800 Scottish soldiers of the 1st Battalion Black Watch are expected to take up positions south of Baghdad. They'll be relieving U.S. forces for an expected assault on Fallujah and other rebel hotspots. In your weather watch this morning, mostly cloudy skies, more rain showers for Germany and the Benelux. You'll see high temperatures in the upper 50s. Italy, mostly cloudy skies, rain showers, highs in the low to mid 60s. Turkey will see partly cloudy skies and highs in the upper 70s. Your latest U.S. dollar exchange rates good through 3 o'clock today. 1 U.S. dollar buys 0.7609 euros, 1.13 Swiss francs, 5.48 Danish kroner, and 1 British pound costs $1.89 in the United Kingdom. Morning News Watch time, 35 minutes past the hour. Stay with us.
This is a Pentagon Channel report. I'm Marine Corporal Brian Buckwalter. The Army Vice Chief of Staff says there's a strategic window of opportunity to meet the security challenges of tomorrow, and it is now. In a speech to the Association of the U.S. Army's annual meeting on Tuesday, General Richard Cody said lessons learned over the last 3 years of war have propelled a series of changes in the Army.
The building of modular capabilities to increase strategic responsiveness and flexibility, rebalancing the size and capabilities of our active and reserve components, and stabilizing this force to improve predictability and increase depth.
General Cody says transforming the Army while fighting a war is a complex task, but must be done. Almost everything is on the table for evaluation and change, he says, except values and integrity. I'm Marine Corporal Brian Buckwalter for the Pentagon Channel.
This is an Air Force News Service report. I'm Tech Sergeant Steve German. The Defense Department is launching a vigorous public health campaign aimed at preventing the flu in those who don't qualify to get their flu shots this season. The Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health Affairs calls the lack of adequate flu vaccine a manageable problem that can be handled without any difficulty. Dr. William Winkenwerder says there's even a chance that this will be a low influenza season because of efforts underway to target what vaccine there is to higher risk individuals. Winkenwerder says the advice is simple and really not new: washing hands and covering the mouth when coughing or sneezing. And if someone does get sick, he says they should stay home and away from others. Only half of the expected flu vaccine is available this year because of problems at the British company that makes it.
From the Air Force News Service, this is Air Force Radio News.
I'm Staff Sergeant Bronwyn Tardo. Moving equipment and people in and around Afghanistan and Iraq can prove challenging. Convoys routinely find themselves under attack. Air Force C-130 cargo planes are helping get the supplies and troops where they need to go and keeping them safe. Tech Sergeant Tony Castro takes us on a mission in Southwest Asia to find out how these airmen get the job done.
Nose down, pointing at an airfield in northern Iraq. A combat landing is nothing to take lightly. But for C-130 crews deployed to Southwest Asia, it's pretty normal. Lieutenant Chris Grease, a co-pilot, says their job requires them to go to some of the most dangerous landing zones in the war against terrorism.
We're bringing these aircraft into short runways, and there's a lot of larger aircraft in our strategic force that can't do that, so the C-130 is critical in making that happen.
Their daily mission is to act as a courier, delivering necessary goods and those who are fighting on the front lines for freedom. Major Kyle Carpenter says it's rewarding knowing the Hercules crews are doing their part to help the war effort.
We're helping people get in, we're also helping people get out, and we're making this an efficient process, and hopefully the more efficient we run this program, then the quicker we can get out of here and Iraq can take over on its own.
No matter the load, the C-130 crews are ready and able to handle the missions necessary to support the warfighters on the ground. Tech Sergeant Tony Castro, Air Force News, Southwest Asia.
The Airborne Warning and Control Systems Program Office says the test of a new system could reduce the possibility of friendly fire accidents. The test examined a new AWACS system designed to provide new levels of security and performance. Other benefits of the system include increased mission effectiveness and a reduction in the possibility of identifying friendly forces as the enemy. The Air Force wants to begin using the system in late 2007. This is Air Force Radio News. The 2005 Base Realignment and Closure Initiative will directly contribute to the Defense Department's transformation efforts. Congress has authorized BRAC 4 times during the past 16 years, with the Air Force closing some 22 bases as a result. The Defense Department's goal is to eliminate excess infrastructure while maximizing operational capability and military readiness. The 2005 BRAC is aimed at combining military power, including joint training at installations that best offer it, in addition to merging military research and laboratory facilities. Previous BRACs have provided $7 billion in annual savings since 2001. Freeing up investment capital helps the Defense Department better support troops in areas where resources are needed. Final 2005 BRAC recommendations will be presented in the spring. Back, shoulder, and leg injuries are commonplace among troops stationed in Iraq. At the Air Force Hospital on Balad Air Base, 6 airmen treat those and other less critical injuries in a physical and occupational therapy clinic. Tech Sergeant Joy Josephson has our story.
An average of 50 patients a day visit the Physical and Occupational Therapy Clinic, all of them looking for relief from job-related injuries. In Iraq, those injuries range from back and shoulder pain, from carrying around the added weight of Kevlar, to ankle sprains from walking through the desert terrain. Major Brian Young, the senior physical therapist on staff, says while these injuries aren't life-threatening, treating them is critical to overall mission success.
If we're able to keep someone in theater, a troop or an airman that can be managed here with some easy treatments, then we've maintained our troop levels here. If we send someone home, we cannot guarantee the replacement. So we try to keep the troops here as we can, but also we're very mindful of the medical conditions they might have, and do they need to go to launch tools or other places for further care.
Since the middle of September, the doctors in this clinic have treated more than 1,000 patients. It's a constant workload, one that's integral to the overall success of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Tech Sergeant Joy Josephson, Air Force News, Balad Air Base, Iraq.
Air Force bases in Europe are improving customer service through education. Staff Sergeant Matt Lichtenberg says it's done with something called the Customer College.
People who deal with customers on a daily basis are getting some insight on how to better treat those customers. Alicia King is just one of the instructors at Aviano's Customer College. She provides scenarios that people may see while doing their job.
It enables you to strengthen your customer service skills with your customers and to basically put yourself in the shoes of the customers.
Students learn how to remain calm when customers get upset and resolve issues more efficiently. Instructors encourage students to use the techniques they learn both in and out of the office. Staff Sergeant Matt Lichtenberg, Air Force News, Aviano Air Base, Italy.
That's it for this edition of Air Force Radio News. From the Air Force News Service, I'm Staff Sergeant Bronwyn Tardo.
18 minutes before the hour, Morning Newswatch continues on this Thursday, October 28th. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone taking a look at some top headlines. The Boston Red Sox are baseball's champions, sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. The Boston Red Sox beat the Cardinals 3-0 in Game 4 last night. Yasser Arafat remains in serious condition at his West Bank compound. The Palestinian leader collapsed last night, losing consciousness for about 10 minutes. President Bush stumped for crossover votes on the campaign trail yesterday, appealing to Democrats disenchanted with their party. Senator John Kerry continued to criticize Bush on Iraq, saying he doesn't get it and he can't fix it. An infantry commander says it's very highly improbable that someone could have trucked out 377 tons of explosive from the Iraqi depot with U.S. forces in the area. Colonel David Perkins commanded the troops that first captured the depot in April 2003. Delta Airlines Pilots Union says it's reached a tentative agreement on concessions. No details have been released. Delta is struggling to avoid bankruptcy protection. Catherine Harris has told police she feared for her life when a car swerved toward her as she stood on a sidewalk in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. The Republican congresswoman said she couldn't move as the vehicle headed her way, then turned at the last minute. Witnesses say the silver Cadillac sped through an intersection and headed straight for Harris and her supporters yesterday. The man who emerged from a pile of baseball fans clutching Barry Bonds' 700th home run ball last month is now richer by $804,129. But another fan has sued to get a cut of the take. The $800,000 plus change was the top bid in a 10-day online auction of the Giant Sluggers Milestone Baseball. In your weather watch this Thursday morning, mostly cloudy skies, rain showers in the morning. Highs will be in the upper 50s. Italy, mostly cloudy skies, rain showers, highs in the low to mid 60s. Turkey will see partly cloudy skies, some sunshine, highs in the upper 70s. And your latest U.S. dollar exchange rates. 1 U.S. dollar buys 0.7609 euros, 1.13 Swiss francs, 5.48 Danish kroner, and 1 British pound costs $1.89 in the United Kingdom. Morning News Watch time closing in on 15 minutes before the hour. We'll have much more with Herb Glover and Gary Bautell on the history of AFN in Europe and Frankfurt. That's coming up after the sports page, where you'll hear all about the end of the curse of the Bambino. Stay with us.
Now, the AFN sports page.
The Boston Red Sox have done it. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Allen.
He swings and bounces one back to Folk. He jumps up to get it, runs toward first, underhands to Minkevich, and the World Series is over. And the wait is over. After 86 years, the Boston Red Sox are the champions of the baseball world.
John Miller of ESPN Radio. Johnny Damon homered on the fourth pitch of the game. Derek Lowe made it stand up, and the Red Sox won 3-0, wrapping up a series in which they never trailed. And Damon's thoughts on the win?
We know we're idiots, we know we're Cowboys, but we also know we're world champions, and we just overcame what a lot of people could not even realize. So I know there's a lot of happy people back home in Boston.
It was Boston's 6th championship, but the first after 86 years of frustration and futility, after 2 world wars, the Great Depression, Men on the Moon, and the rise and the fall of the Soviet Union. Gone was the heartbreak of 4 Game 7 losses since the last title. A drought, some insist, was a curse that really began after they sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees in 1920. And first-year manager Terry Francona's thoughts on the World Series victory?
I'm not sure I can express it. I know I need to. It's probably the greatest feeling in baseball. It is the greatest feeling in baseball to accomplish something of this magnitude with this group of people, knowing how those people back in New England feel right now. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Manny Ramirez was named the most valuable player. Remember, he was put on waivers in the offseason and was nearly traded to Texas for Alex Rodriguez. He was 7 of 17 with a homer and 4 RBIs. So the Boston Red Sox have won the World Series in 4 straight over the St. Louis Cardinals. In other baseball news, the Baltimore Orioles have reached terms with Rafael Palmeiro on a 1-year agreement. The San Francisco Giants will host the 2007 Major League All-Star Game. That'll be pending issues regarding hotels. Washington Wizards forward Brendan Haywood has received a 3-game suspension from the NBA. The reason? Fighting during a preseason game against Chicago Monday night. The suspension will take effect with the opening of the NBA regular season next week. The Boston Celtics expect point guard Gary Payton to play in their season opener against Philadelphia next week. NASCAR driver Jimmy Spencer has been fired by Morgan McClure Motorsports. The reason? Spencer was arrested and accused of interfering with police as they attempted to serve a warrant on his son. That's the sports page. I'm Ken Allen, AFN Sports.
The Special Forces Recruiting Team Europe is looking for qualified enlisted soldiers and officers to fill the ranks of the elite, the Green Berets. Enlisted personnel in the ranks of PFC through Sergeant First Class and officers in the ranks of First Lieutenant and Captain may apply for Special Forces training. To try out, call the Special Forces recruiting team at DSN 379-6558. If you're ready to be challenged, make the call that will change your career forever.
Hi there. I'm here to apply for a passport for my child.
Sure, ma'am. Let's see if you have all the paperwork. Do you have the paperwork with the child's father's permission?
No, I don't. But can't I just sign for it?
No, ma'am. A new law states children under 14 need to have both parents' permission before applying for a passport.
What if the other parent is deployed?
If the father can send you the paperwork with his permission, we can process it.
Thanks.
My pleasure, ma'am. By the way, you can find the information you need at travel.state.gov.
Hey, what you cooking?
TV dinner. I'm about to eat it while I watch this boring video.
You should join me at the Air Force Club for dinner tonight.
Dinner at the club?
Yeah, haven't you heard? They have breakfast and lunch and dinner menus, Sunday brunches, family night, and more.
Oh.
Plus, you can cash checks and exchange foreign currency. They even cater and help with special events.
What? I'm giving up TV dinners and videos, and I'm going to the club.
I thought you'd see it my way.
Stop by your nearest Air Force Club today and take advantage of a great tradition.
You wouldn't butter your bread while it's still in the toaster. And you wouldn't mix bleach with glass cleaner, would you? So if you wouldn't do these things, why would you ever talk on your mobile phone while driving your car? It's not only illegal in most European countries, it's also a deadly combination. So remember, don't eat corn chips while you swim in the pool. And definitely don't talk on your mobile phone while the car's in motion.
You're listening to AFN Morning News Watch on the Power Network. I'm Army Sergeant Prashant Allen. It is Thursday, October 28th. And beginning at 5:30, the latest from CNN Headline News, followed by Destinations at 6. Also, your prime time kicks off at 6:30 with the AFN Evening News, where we are bringing you your news now. After that, we have Everybody Loves Raymond, Will and Grace, The Bachelor, and CSI. CNN's back with us at 10 o'clock, followed by the AFN Evening News Late Edition. Jay Leno brings us The Tonight Show, and of course, David Letterman. He wraps it all up with The Late Show. That's what's coming up for you right here on AFN Atlantic Television. You have a jazzy day.
We're about 9 minutes away from the top of the hour on this Thursday, October 28th. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone, joined in our studios once again with a couple of old-time AFNers. Gary Bautell, also a present-day AFNer, I should add. He's the current news director. He joins us in our studio along with Herb Glover, who spent 43 years working in Europe. And gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Great, Scott.
Now, we left off with the move to Frankfurt. How was it determined to... Well, we talked about how that was determined, but how was it determined to move into this facility?
Well, anytime you talk to old AFNers, they talk about the castle years, and of course that was the romantic era of AFN. But you know, that Höchster Castle, the Schloss, was really under what the Germans called Denkmalschutz, meaning that it's protected and it's kind of it's
historic monument.
Historic monument. That's and so they wanted us to move out of there. And so we moved here to Bertramstrasse after building a building. This area here, I recall sheep grazing here prior to the building of this building. And it went up in a few years, and we went on the air. AFN began broadcasting from this new location in August 1966. Now, why this location? This location is adjacent to the Hessische Rundfunk. And they were tremendously helpful to us in setting up our first broadcast day.
And can you explain what they are, the Hessische Rundfunk?
Yeah, the Hessische Rundfunk is the German Hessen State radio. And I must say, the Rundfunks in Germany were extremely helpful to us in establishing our broadcast activities. For example, in Stuttgart, we got a great deal of help from the Südwestfunk, or the Süddeutsche Rundfunk, when we set up AFN in Stuttgart, the Bayerische Rundfunk in München, in Munich. So we had a really good working relationship with the German Rundfunks during all of those years, and that still continues today.
In fact, this particular studio, there was a lot of German design went into it. It's very unique in the fact that the center core of the building is designed to absorb all the shock of the noise from the street and vibrations and so forth. All the studios are located inside a core, which is on big springs in the basement.
It is indeed, yeah.
So when big trucks roll by the studios where we're
Right.
sitting today, you don't, the plates don't rattle and the
Now, I
coffee cup doesn't.
understand that was actually needed when there was a terrorist attack about 15, 20 years ago across the way at the old PX compound.
Well, those were interesting years. Those were the Pershing missile years, the Baader-Meinhof years, and there was a great deal of, yeah, in fact, when that bomb went off, it wasn't heard back in the studio area. Yeah.
That's right. There's some windows cracked, but nothing was heard on the air.
Now, this was located, for those who are familiar with the place where AFN is located now, it was adjacent to a PX facility and a commissary, the hub of a shopping center for residents in Frankfurt, for military residents. When did that facility go in? How did that coincide with AFN? Was that before AFN or after?
They were already there. In fact, there's an intersection out there that goes back to the real old days of the Army here in Germany, called WAC Circle, Women's Army Corps. They had their barracks over there on the other side of the street. That's all gone now, and that area is now a Polizeipräsidium.
Brand new building.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I drive by it, I think of what used to be there and how progress and how change affects our lives. It's been a dramatic series of years recently, watching as I've in an earlier remarks, the fact that this used to be the hub of military activity. First, it was Eisenhower's headquarters. It was the headquarters for the United States Army Europe, and then 5th Corps. There were 2 divisions. There was military housing all around the city, especially in this northwest part of the city. A big hospital. It was indeed, it was one of the big military base areas of Germany.
And now in recent years, it's become isolation here. We've been really isolated from the rest of the U.S. military in Europe. And can you talk about what it's been like being in the middle of the German economy and being in the middle of Frankfurt, isolated from the U.S. military? What's that been like?
Well, that's a two-sided coin. I mean, on the one hand, you're in a thriving metropolis, which is a fascinating city. Frankfurt is a great place to be and a great place to work. For our young soldiers, the opportunity to learn more about Germany and Frankfurt, just step out the door and go downtown, easy. The other side of the coin, of course, is they had no support anymore. They had to go to Darmstadt or Hanau or Wiesbaden to get their paperwork done or to get a new ID card or whatever. And that situation, coupled with the problem of being too far away from the major flagpoles, was one of the main reasons why the planning started to move to the new facility in Mannheim.
Right. Can you talk about, Gary, the challenges of running a news division, a news department, when you're so far away from where all the news is happening?
Well, it's getting easier. It used to be, in the Cold War days, you pretty well knew what you were going to be doing. You were going to be covering exercises in the former Cold War front line, the Fulda Gap, and all these areas where the major exercises, Reforger and the Big Lift, where they all took place. So that was pretty much a routine. And then after that, we got more mobile. We had the ability to go into areas that we thought we would never be going. And Frankfurt had an advantage of being centrally located. I mean, the airport, both the U.S. military airport and the civilian airport are right down the street, basically. I mean, it's 15, 20 minutes drive. We were able to deploy into Bosnia practically before any of the other American troops got there. And we've actually increased on this mobility and the ability to get someplace quickly as the technology improved. Used to be you had to go in with a huge amount of equipment to set up even a radio operation. Now, it's a box with a dish and you're on the air.
In fact, in Bosnia, that's kind of a historic thing. When we went into Bosnia and set up the station, It came in on a C-130. In fact, AFN was there before the troops arrived. We set up in about 2 days. We're on the air, and when the troops arrived, they had channels of television and stereo radio. That was a historic moment for us.
We've come a long way. Now, this building has come a long way over the years. Can you talk about, in the last minute here, what it means to you to see this building go away, essentially, for the AFN network?
Well, it's a watershed of history and progress for us electronically in the broadcast area. It started out as a high-tech radio facility, only for radio, and 38 years later,
that's right,
the building is looking a little seedy on the outside. It's a little worn out, but man, we've really gone places here. I mean, we brought television, color television, to our audience out of this building. And then we went to live TV, over satellite, which was a major breakthrough. And then, of course, now we're totally digital. We're available in some 50 countries, 55, 56, I lost count. Anybody who has a digital encoder.
Now, Herb, you've retired about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
You came back just for this event.
I did.
What's it mean to you to be here?
Oh, it's a tremendous honor after spending most of my adult life with this fine organization. To come back here on the last day of broadcasting out of these studios is a great honor, Scott. And you and I kind of represent the new and the old. And so I think it's kind of symbolic and significant that we're both here today.
It's been my honor having you in our studios this morning, Herb, and we're going to talk more with you next hour. But coming up next, we've got the latest news headlines. Some big things happening yesterday and last night. One of those things, the World Series. We'll have more on that and more on the news coming up next. It's 8 o'clock in Central Europe. This is AFN's Morning News Watch. Good morning. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone reporting live from our studios in Frankfurt, Germany on this Thursday, October 28th. U.S. troops in Iraq are often targeted by car bombs and roadside bombs. Now a convoy has been hit by an attacker on a motorcycle. The military says one soldier was killed in yesterday's attack in central Iraq. Another was wounded. It's not clear what happened to the bomber. The convoy was part of the 13th Corps Support Command. A calm seems to spread in a rebellious Iraqi slum. The U.S. Army is hoping to begin a $330 million improvement project there. But before the underground sewer and water project can start, military commanders want to locate the last of more than 1,000 homemade bombs hidden beneath Baghdad's streets in Sadr City. Not far away from there, a citywide civil military operation is being headed up by the 1st Cavalry Division, helping Iraqi farmers near Baghdad. Army Sergeant Dave Larson is there.
They call it Operation Amber Waves, but it's not grain being delivered to Iraqi farmers. Actually, it's seeds and fertilizer. In one portion of eastern Baghdad alone, the 1st Battalion of the 82nd Field Artillery Regiment delivered more than 350 metric tons of seeds and fertilizer to area farmers. Seed and fertilizer was delivered to farmers throughout the region for more than a week. Making the delivery now is important as the fall planting season approaches the region. Besides delivering seeds and fertilizer, civil military affairs projects have been started to acquire better farm equipment, including tractors and combines. Steps have also been taken to establish farm cooperatives in the area in conjunction with the Iraqi Ministry of Agriculture. The operations officer from 182 Field Artillery, Major Michael Miller, said his unit made a promise to the people of eastern Baghdad to help them get them back on their feet, and that Operation Amber Waves is just the beginning. I'm Army Sergeant Dave Larson, 1st Cavalry Division, Baghdad.
In other news, Al Jazeera has broadcast a tape of hostage Margaret Hassan pleading for the release of female prisoners in Iraq and the withdrawal of British troops. The kidnapped British director of CARE International also called on the aid organization to close its offices in Iraq. Hassan was kidnapped on her way to work in Baghdad last week. No group has claimed responsibility thus far. Long lines and even lotteries are common sight stateside this fall as Americans attempt to roll up their sleeves for their flu shots. The shortage of vaccine is also impacting Americans in Europe. Phil Techmeyer is the Deputy Public Affairs Officer for the Army's European Medical Command.
There will be flu shots for soldiers who are deployed down to the Central Command region, and there will be some flu shots given to those who are leaving from Europe to go there.
This is AFN's Morning News Watch, 3 minutes past the hour. Kurdish Iraqis in a section of northeast Iraq recently received a donation of medical supplies and equipment from soldiers with Task Force Olympia. Army Sergeant Brian Jopek is our reporter.
The Maine Army National Guard's 133rd Engineer Battalion has been involved in reconstruction projects in northeastern Iraq as part of Task Force Olympia. In addition to projects to rebuild schools, water lines, and roads, the engineers have helped the people in the region in other ways. Major John Nelson is the battalion surgeon for the 133rd. He played a key role in procuring an estimated $25,000 to $30,000 worth of medical supplies for a hospital and medical clinic.
The Iraqi people are in trouble medically for materials as well as equipment. The doctors seem to be fairly well trained, they just don't have equipment to work with.
Nelson says the battalion pulled together excess medical supplies from as far south as Balad, Iraq, and put together the donation of 42 cartons of supplies to distribute to the medical clinic in the village of Sitakan and the hospital in Soran. Nelson says a supply donation is not nearly enough, but it's a start. He says he's hoping to get donations of supplies and equipment from clinics and hospitals in Maine to help better establish the healthcare infrastructure for people in the region. Reporting from Mosul, Iraq, I'm Army Sergeant Brian Jopek.
In your weather watch this Thursday morning, mostly cloudy skies for Germany and the Benelux. Rain showers in the morning. Highs will be in the upper 50s. Italy, mostly cloudy across the peninsula. Highs ranging from the 60s in the north, 70s down south with rain showers. And Turkey, partly cloudy skies. Highs in the upper 70s. U.S. dollar exchange rate, $1 U.S. buys 0.7609 euros. Morning Newswatch time is 5 minutes past the hour. Up first in our World Wrap today, John Kerry is trying to take down George Bush, but someone else may be trying to take Bush down from the web. President Bush's campaign website is now inaccessible from outside the U.S. and Canada. The Bush site and the website of the Republican National Committee suffered outages last week that may have been the result of electronic barrages known as denial of service attacks. Elsewhere, the father of a Japanese hostage in Iraq has made a videotape plea for his son's life. Al Jazeera Television aired the appeal, which was made in Japanese and dubbed over in Arabic. Masumi Koda says his son Shosei is only in Iraq out of sympathy for the Iraqi people and has no connections to the U.S. or Japanese troops. And Iran's supreme leader is rejecting any long-term suspension of uranium enrichment programs. State-run Iranian television also quotes Ayatollah al-Khamenei as threatening to withdraw from further nuclear talks with European negotiators. And that's your World Wrap 6 minutes past the hour. In other news, the court-appointed lawyer for Slobodan Milosevic is seeking to quit the case. The UN War Crimes Tribunal says Stephen Kay and his assistant have submitted applications to the tribunal's registrar. The two will continue to represent the former president of Yugoslavia until the tribunal removes them. Kay has asked for a reversal of the court order that keeps Milosevic from representing himself. Judges appointed Kay 2 months ago after reports said Milosevic's high blood pressure put him at risk of a heart attack. Well, patients at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center had a surprise from better opportunities for single soldiers recently. Airman Peter Mellon has more.
The Heidelberg chapter carried loads of NFL gear and music CDs through the halls looking for patients. The visit left patients with new stuff to wear, new music to listen to, and a few new smiles. Heidelberg Boss President, Specialist Arisa Griffin, hopes their visits brighten patients' days.
It boosts their morale, one, because their platoon is all downrange, but also because that it shows that the neighborhood, not just Kaiserslautern or Darmstadt or Mannheim, but also Heidelberg, the whole neighborhood cares. And their family's not here, so we're their family, so we have to come and show support.
They stop by patients' rooms to thank them for their service to their country. Specialist Daniel Kelsey is a patient at Landstuhl, and he thinks visits like this really help.
When we were down at Fort Hood training, I know we had a lot of sports teams coming in, cheerleaders coming to visit us. Just really nice, you know, to have the support of all those people.
The patients enjoyed the visit, and Boss was happy to show appreciation. Reporting from the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, Germany, I'm Airman Peter Mellon, AFN News.
In other news stateside, the man who emerged from a pile of baseball fans clutching Barry Bonds' 700th home run ball last month is now richer by $804,129. But another fan has sued to get a cut of that take. The $800,000 plus change was the top bid in a 10-day online auction of the Giant Sluggers Milestone Baseball. The new owner's name has not been released. And by the way, if you missed it earlier, last night in the World Series, the curse of the Bambino came to an end. The Red Sox winning their first World Series in 86 years, 3-0 over the Cardinals in Game 4. In your weather watch for your Thursday morning, mostly cloudy skies and rain showers for Germany and the Benelux. You'll see high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. Norway, mostly cloudy, highs in the 40s. Italy will see cloudy skies and rain showers again across the peninsula. Highs ranging from the mid 60s in the north, 70s down south. Spain, mostly cloudy to cloudy skies, rain showers, highs in the low 70s. And in Turkey, partly cloudy skies. You'll see high temperatures there in the upper 70s. Your latest U.S. dollar exchange rates good through 3 o'clock today at your community banks. 1 U.S. dollar buys 0.7609 euros, 1.13 Swiss francs, 5.48 Danish kroner, and 1 British pound will cost $1.89 in the United Kingdom. A complete listing of all the exchange rates can be found on our website at afneurope.net. Morning News Watch time coming up on 10 minutes past the hour. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone. Coming up next on the program, we'll have a travel update for you. And then at 15 minutes past, your sports page with a complete recap of the World Series as the Red Sox finally end that curse of the Bambino, going back to 1918. And a little bit later on in the hour, we'll have more with Herb Glover and Gary Bautell on our final day of broadcasting from Frankfurt. Stay with us.
New World. I'm Sandy Kozel with a travel update. There's plenty to do this fall at Epcot and Magic Kingdom. The 9th annual Epcot International Food and Wine Festival is underway through November 14th at the Disney World Resort, featuring products from 100 wineries, guest chefs, wine seminars, beer tastings, and dinners. Or for the little ones too timid to enjoy the creepy side of Halloween, there's the Magic Kingdom's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party, evenings until the end of the month. The events include a parade, fireworks, and trick-or-treating. For braver souls, how about Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando, recently expanded to include both theme parks, Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. There are 7 new haunted houses, 4 new scare zones, and the return of the Festival of the Dead parade. Howl or Scream at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay frightens guests with 6 haunted houses and 4 scare zones. I'm Sandy Kozel.
If you're living in Italy or plan to visit and you've got questions, there's a website that has the answers.
usembassy.it.
You'll find out about U.S. policies in Italy, international affairs, and global issues that affect you.
usembassy.it.
Plus information on immigrant visas as well as tips on living and working in Italy.
usembassy.it.
So check out the U.S. Embassy's website today and make your stay in Italy a great one.
Due to changes in German law, U.S. Forces personnel in Germany who have privately owned firearms and plan to use them must register under the German Weapons Registration System. All U.S. Forces must store their privately owned firearms in an approved manner, dispose of them, or export them from Germany in accordance with instructions. For more information, go to the USERA homepage at www.hqusera.army.mil. I can't get my job back.
Don't worry. Sit down. We'll work on it.
In the U.S., you're guaranteed your job when you return from reserve duty, but with European employers, it may be different. Don't stress. The European Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve is here to help. ESGR gives you the accurate information and provides a professional approach to dealing with employment issues in Europe. Contact ESGR at DSN 430-8864. That's DSN 430-8864.
By the way, I have more military training.
ESGR, your best option for resolution.
U.S. Army Europe Deputy Commanding General Lieutenant General William E. Ward on the U.S. Army Europe 2004 voting campaign.
This general election year, you and your fellow citizens will vote for our next president, numerous senators and members of the House of Representatives, and thousands of state and local officials. USER is very busy with deployments and redeployments, but getting out there and voting is crucial. Your opinion is important, and as the motto reads, it's your future.
Vote for it!
You're listening to AFN Morning News Watch on the Power Network. I'm Army Sergeant Pashan Allen. It is Thursday, October 28th. And beginning at 5:30, the latest from CNN Headline News, followed by Destinations at 6. Also, your prime time kicks off at 6:30 with the AFN Evening News, where we are bringing you your news now. After that, we have Everybody Loves Raymond, Will and Grace, The Bachelor, and CSI. CNN's back with us at 10 o'clock, followed by the AFN Evening News Late Edition. Jay Leno brings us The Tonight Show, and of course, David Letterman. He wraps it all up with The Late Show. That's what's coming up for you right here on AFN Atlantic Television. You have a jazzy day.
All right, thanks very much. Army Sergeant Pashan Allen keeping us enlightened on the TV lineup for your Thursday night. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone, getting you ready for the sports page in about a minute. And by now, you've probably heard the curse is over. The Red Sox erasing the memories of Bill Buckner and Bucky Dent, and of course, the Bambino himself. They get it done last night. They wasted no time in dispatching the Cardinals. 4-0. They win last night 3-0. Outstanding performance by Derek Lowe, their third starter, as he pitches 7 shutout innings. The Red Sox bullpen did the rest, and the Red Sox win the World Series for the first time since 1918. Congratulations to the Red Sox, and if you didn't see the game live, hopefully you can catch a rebroadcast of that later today on AFN Sports Channel. We're 15 minutes past the hour. Your sports page is up next.
Now, the AFN Sports Page.
The curse of the who? Not anymore. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Allen. The Boston Red Sox have reversed the curse, completing a 4-game sweep of the World Series by shutting out the St. Louis Cardinals 3-0. The win comes exactly 18 years after they lost Game 7 of the series to the New York Mets, and 86 years since they last won a World Series, suffering the so-called curse of the Bambino after Babe Ruth was traded from Boston to the New York Yankees. Derek Lowe was superb against the Cards, one start after holding the New York Yankees to a hit over 6 innings in the American League Championship clincher. Johnny Damon put the Sox ahead to stay with the leadoff homer on the 4th pitch of the game. Trot Nixon's 2-run double in the 3rd gave the Red Sox some breathing room. And Damon talks about the importance of scoring early.
We definitely needed to send the message saying that, you know, we're not going to roll over. We didn't want what happened with us and the Yankees to happen against them.
World Series MVP Manny Ramirez singled in the 3rd to stretch his playoff hitting streak to 17 games. Ramirez hit .412 with 1 homer and 4 RBIs in the series.
When I went to spring training, you know, I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to be the MVP of something. And I did it, man.
Losing pitcher Jason Marquis allowed 3 runs and 6 hits in 6 innings, the longest stint by a Cardinals starter in the series. But the Cardinals managed just 4 hits in Game 4 and never led at any point in the series. A disappointed Cardinals manager, Tony La Russa.
Congratulate the Red Sox. They outplayed us. I mean, I don't know. You know, if the club, and I'm speaking honestly, if the club wasn't ready to play or wasn't prepared, then, you know, then I take responsibility. But, you know, we just, everything that had to be done as far as making a pitch and having that bat, they did better than we did.
Boston had lost its previous 4 World Series twice to the Cardinals. But that is all history now, as the Boston Red Sox have won the 2004 World Series, sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals in 4 straight and winning the deciding game 3-0. In other baseball news, Major League Baseball has announced that San Francisco will host the 2007 Major League All-Star Game if they can work out issues regarding hotel rooms. Northwestern football coach Randy Walker has been checked out of a hospital, and he has returned to practice. He was hospitalized a couple of days because of inflammation of a heart muscle. The Mississippi State football program has been placed on 4 years probation by the NCAA. Recruiting violations. That's the sports page. I'm Ken Allen, AFN Sports.
Are you planning on voting this year? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. A lot of Americans have no plans for casting a ballot this presidential election, but becoming involved in the process is
won the 2004 World Series, sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals in 4 straight and winning the deciding game 3-0. In other baseball news, Major League Baseball has announced that San Francisco will host the 2007 Major League All-Star Game if they can work out issues regarding hotel rooms. Northwestern football coach Randy Walker has been checked out of a hospital, and he has returned to practice. He was hospitalized a couple of days because of inflammation of a heart muscle. The Mississippi State football program has been placed on 4 years probation by the NCAA. Recruiting violations. That's the sports page. I'm Ken Allen, AFN Sports.
Are you planning on voting this year? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. A lot of Americans have no plans for casting a ballot this presidential election, but becoming involved in the process is a great way to bring up some important issues with your kids. Review the candidates together. Tell your children where you stand and why. Ask them where they stand and who they would vote for. Talk about what makes someone a good leader. On Election Day, take them to the polls while you vote. That night, watch the results come in together. Remember, your family first.
The Family Minute with Mark Merrill is a production of Family First. To find some great resources for strengthening your family, go to FamilyMinute.net. That's FamilyMinute.net, or call 1-800-956-8300. That's 1-800-956-8300.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news. While you slept last night, the vote was 139-1. Russia's upper house of parliament approved the Kyoto Protocol and sent it to President Putin for signature. But it needs 55 signatures, and the United States and Australia are holdouts. Another historic decision came while you slept last night in Israel. That country's lawmakers approved the plan of Prime Minister Sharon to withdraw from all of Gaza and part of the West Bank. 800 British forces have left southern Iraq, headed for Baghdad. 800 British Scottish soldiers of the dread Black Watch Battalion. Armored flatbeds are with them. 40 United States Marines are with them. It looks like American forces are being freed up for a takeover of Fallujah. Otherwise, how are things? United States factories are receiving more orders for big-ticket durable goods, 0.2% more in September. A powerful Alaskan storm has swept south over California, flooding homes, turning out lights, dumping 48 inches of snow on the High Sierra. That's the most early snow since anybody has kept count. India has tested a nuclear-capable missile with a range of 180 miles, more than enough range to reach fat targets in neighboring Pakistan. The strategy is to keep both nations intimidated indefinitely, and it has worked so far. Beginner scholars presume that to be smart is to be wise. Scripture, however, confirms so many ways and so many times that God chose simple folk to confound the wise. Scholars from the Higher Education Research Institute, University of California, Los Angeles, for example, have surprised themselves to discover students as juniors are more depressed than when they were freshmen, emotionally less healthy the longer they're in college. But that is the spiritually inclined student at whatever age is happier, and by 2 to 1. After studying almost 4,000 students over 3 years, the principal investigator concluded that being religious certainly seems to contribute to one's psychological well-being. End quote. Page 2. It is election day minus 6 days and counting, and you are not enthusiastic about either of the front runners. Well, vote anyway, because this ballot allows you to decide some issues that you do care about. Examples: in Alaska, thousands of black bears are lured to bait sites for trophy hunters to shoot point blank. You can vote yes or no on that. In the state of Maine, trophy hunters are allowed to bait and hound and trap and then kill. You can vote no if you prefer. In Florida, racing greyhounds are neglected, abused, and killed by the thousands, and you're invited to vote either more or less of that. Remember, in a republic, when you don't vote, what you do is to give your vote away to somebody who will use it. With oil more than $55 a barrel, the times come for limitless sources of energy: wind and sun, geothermal, biofuels, renewable energy. It's now competitive in the marketplace. A country drunk on gasoline doesn't have to be anymore. Read up. Alternatives are on the ballots in lots of places. The political pollsters say that the election is too close to call. Well, maybe. I suspect that pollsters may be handicapped by the fact that many or most people asked their preference by a stranger are just disinclined to tell. There are celebrities, of course, who consider their celebrity a license to sing and shout about their choice, but the silent majority is silent because it respects its own privacy and wishes that others would. Let me share a little secret with you. I have found Britain's Piccadilly bookies most reliable. And for the same reason, I found Las Vegas professional odds makers more reliable. And now there is internet gambling, where you can place your wager by computer and actually bet money on the outcome of any political race. It is my observation and experience that the professional gamblers are about twice as accurate as the polls. One more time. It has been my observation and experience that the professional gamblers are about twice as accurate as are the polls. So I suppose you want to know how the bettors are betting. All right. Yesterday, the Iowa electronics market, run by the University of Iowa College of Business, reported a closing price of 61 cents for Bush stock and 39 cents for the close of Kerry's stock. That means among these professional gamblers, Bush is favored 61 to 39%. Las Vegas bookmakers do not wager on presidential elections professionally, so they don't quote odds publicly, but the Piccadilly Casino in London will take your wagers, and they favor Bush. On Bush, you have to bet 2 to win 1. Page 3. In Puyallup, Washington, youngsters who show up in Halloween costumes in public schools will be sent home if their costumes show disrespect for any group, including witches. Oh, for goodness sake. California motorists are being pulled over and prosecuted for drinking herbal tea. I don't know, it appears that kava is intoxicating. The durable monarch, Monaco's Prince Rainier, hospitalized with a lung infection. On the medical front, the first artificial disc for the spine, developed by Johnson & Johnson, has been approved by the FDA for treating severe lower back pain. An artificial disc for the spine. They call it the flu cruise. Seattle people are taking a high-speed cruise across Puget Sound to get a flu shot in Canada. The personal computer came on the market before it was ripe. A federal government study today concludes that internet users at home are less safe than they imagine. Home PCs are plagued with problems. Most consumers have no firewall protection at all. Antivirus software is outdated. Dozens of spyware programs are running on your computer without you even knowing it. As many as 1,000 spyware programs in some instances. The FCC is filing its first ever federal court case over spyware. But this day's news of most lasting significance could be this. On the remote Indonesian island of Flores, we have found the remains of a tiny adult female 3 feet tall. Conventional wisdom says modern humans began to crowd out other upright walking species 160,000 years ago. This new evidence, between 95,000 and 12,000 years old, indicates that modern humans developed elsewhere rapidly. Some scripture scholars would say instantly. And now, page 4. Actor Robert Blake was accused of shooting to death his wife outside their favorite restaurant in Studio City. Today, 3 years later, they are trying to pick a jury. Haven't we had a magnificent autumn in the American Midwest? And now eastern states are available in Technicolor. Virginia, North Carolina. This phenomenally brilliant blast of autumn color results from a warm, wet spring, a summer without extreme heat, a relatively dry autumn, and sunny days, and cool nights, and the ingredients the ultimate artist needs for his ultimacy. The law has not forgot O.J. Simpson. He still owes $33.5 million to the victims' families, which he has not even begun to pay. Shop Talk, the Food Network, is launching a search for somebody who knows food and cooking to host a new network program related to the kitchen arts. Finalists will be auditioned for you next September. That quake-ravaged northern Japan has been hit by yet another strong earthquake. A 6.1 Temblor destroyed much of which had already been damaged. And for what it's worth, when Jay Leno heard that Senator Kerry would have 10,000 lawyers watching polling places in key states, 10,000 lawyers, Leno issued his own warning to voters. Leno said, be careful that you don't slip on the sidewalk outside a polling place. You could be buried alive by business cards. Paul Harvey. Good day.
Paul Harvey News and Comment is a service of ABC News.
Update, I'm Camille Bohannon. So much for the curse of the Bambino. The Boston Red Sox are now the best in baseball, taking the World Series by beating St. Louis in 4 straight games. Play-by-play announcer Joe Castiglione called the final out on WEEI radio.
The 1-0 pitch, here it is. Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions. For the first time in 86 years, the Red Sox have won baseball's world championship. Can you believe it?
Final score 3-0, making it worse. It was in St. Louis, making it worse for the Cardinals. Thousands of jubilant Sox fans gather near Fenway Park to celebrate. A massive police presence is also on hand trying to keep the peace. Some fans have been setting off fireworks, throwing bottles, and setting small fires. Boston's own John Kerry is hoping to give his hometown something else to celebrate soon. He's still stumping hard as the Democratic presidential candidate. Kerry fired up a capacity crowd in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa on Wednesday.
So are you ready for new leadership?
Well, I got news for you. Next Tuesday, help is on the way.
President Bush headlined a campaign rally at the Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan.
I'm here in Michigan today and tomorrow. I'll be back on Saturday. I'm here to ask for the vote and to ask for your help.
Polls are reporting a high level of interest in the race. An AP Ipsos survey shows 11% of voters have already marked ballots in 32 states that permit early voting. Word from the West Bank, Yasser Arafat's health is getting worse. The Palestinian leader collapsed and was unconscious 10 minutes Wednesday. A team of Jordanian doctors is on the way. This is AP Network News.
And this is AFN's Morning News Watch, 32 minutes past the hour. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone reporting. As calm seems to spread in a rebellious Iraqi slum, the U.S. Army is hoping to begin a $330 million improvement project. But before the underground sewer and water project can start, military commanders want to locate the last of more than 1,000 homemade bombs hidden beneath Baghdad streets in Sadr City. Under a ceasefire, the weapons amnesty plan, militants controlled by rebel cleric Muqtada al-Sadr have agreed to disable and cart away the bombs. But Army officials say soldiers have found dozens more explosives in a Ford block area recently. A citywide civil military operation is being headed up by the 1st Cavalry Division and helping the Iraqi farmers near Baghdad. Army Sergeant Dave Larson reports.
They call it Operation Amber Waves, but it's not grain being delivered to Iraqi farmers. Actually, it's seeds and fertilizer. In one portion of eastern Baghdad alone, the 1st Battalion of the 82nd Field Artillery Regiment delivered more than 350 metric tons of seeds and fertilizer to area farmers. Seed and fertilizer was delivered to farmers throughout the region for more than a week. Making the delivery now is important as the fall planting season approaches the region. Besides delivering seeds and fertilizer, civil military affairs projects have been started to acquire better farm equipment, including tractors and combines. Steps have also been taken to establish farm cooperatives in the area in conjunction with the Iraqi Ministry of Agriculture. The operations officer from 1A2 Field Artillery, Major Michael Miller, said his unit made a promise to the people of eastern Baghdad to help them get them back on their feet, and that Operation Amber Waves is just the beginning. I'm Army Sergeant Dave Larson, 1st Cavalry Division, Baghdad.
Elsewhere in Iraq, British troops appear to be making a pit stop on their way to Baghdad. Nearly 800 troops headed out yesterday on their redeployment from southern Iraq. Large flatbed trucks were seen on the road to the city of Nasiriyah, where the British forces appear to be overnighting. Nearly 800 Scottish soldiers of the 1st Battalion Black Watch are expected to take up positions south of Baghdad today. They'll be relieving U.S. forces for an expected assault on Fallujah and other rebel hotspots. In your weather watch for your Thursday morning, North and Central Europe will see mostly cloudy skies, rain showers in the morning. Highs will be in the upper 50s. Italy, mostly cloudy. Highs in the low to mid 60s in the north, 70s down south. Rain showers across the Italian peninsula today. And Turkey, partly cloudy skies, a beautiful fall day there. Some sunshine and high temperatures in the upper 70s. Latest U.S. dollar exchange rates, $1 buys 0.7609 euros. Morning News Watch time is 35 minutes past the hour.
This is a Soldiers Radio News special report, TRADOC Transformation. From the Association of the U.S. Army meeting in Washington, D.C., I'm Sergeant Mike Levine. As the Army transforms to meet the challenges of the global war on terror, one major command has a huge responsibility to stay one step ahead of the change. Training and Doctrine Command has been on the move since the war on terror began, making sure their training programs stay relevant in this new kind of war.
We've seen a great need, based on the direct feedback from veterans out of the war, a great need to increase the rigor in the training for the individual soldiers. And that drove the focus of what we're doing.
That's Command Sergeant Major Anthony Williams, top NCO of TRADOC. He spent a great deal of time at the annual AUSA meeting explaining how TRADOC is transforming to meet the training needs of the operational Army. It starts, Williams says, at the bottom with initial entry training.
In the past, as an example, we used to At the end of each one of those phases, we will do like a phase test, and then we'll go to the next phase all the way through phase 4 for all the IET soldiers.
Now, Williams says TRADOC has introduced what they call rigor to the program, putting more of a mental and physical challenge into the training cycle.
Well, now what we do is there's an FTX phase at the end. There's an FTX at the end of each one of the phases. So when the soldier finishes the gunfighter phase or the Patriot phase, at the end of one of those, there's a stick sling like FTX. That's a teaming event for all the collective tasks to be brought together, rather than waiting to the end of the 9th week of training and doing a one big crucible type of event. We do them now after each phase of training.
That constant reinforcement of basic soldiering keeps the initial entry troops from losing focus that they are soldiers. And even though for years soldiers have been talking about how basic training is getting easier, Sergeant Major Williams begs to differ.
I believe my basic training was hard. I still believe that today. It was pretty tough. Training today is also tough. If you don't believe training is tough, I would invite anyone to go back out and try to go back through basic training again, because it really is tough.
The toughness of the training is directly attributable to the soldiers Williams calls the best and the brightest of the NCO Corps, the drill sergeant. And Williams is on the hunt for more of them.
First of all, I'm looking for a non-commissioned officer who wants to be a drill sergeant. If you want to be a good drill, sergeant, you'll probably be a good drill sergeant. I want a drill sergeant that want to be a drill sergeant. I want a non-commissioned officer who want to train. I want one who understands the commitment and the time it's going to take from his family and the effort it's going to take him as an individual, mentally and physical, in order to produce that type of soldier.
These top trainers have to adjust too. And that means not just changing the way you train troops, but also how you train the trainer.
One of the things about the rigor part is, for NCOs, if you're going to train an IET soldier on something, you at the same time train a non-commissioned officer on something. We don't want to produce a private that goes into an organization and he knows more about something than the non-commissioned officer who he walks into to become his squad leader.
TRADOC's main focus right now is producing soldiers and leaders to fill the operational army. But some of the trainers feel, since they aren't physically in the war zone, their contribution is somehow lessened. Not so, says Sergeant Major Williams.
All those NCOs and HCRC positions and ROTC positions, teaching officers and cadets, they are contributing. They're contributing because they are they're training the future force. They're training everyone from IAT all the way up through officers. They're contributing because they are training war fighters to go off and be those types of folks. But initially, we probably did have a lot of us back here who did not deploy. But most of us and a lot of us may not get that opportunity. It's not because that's what the soldier chooses to do. That's just what the soldier was asked to do at this time.
With the operations tempo of the war, veterans of the conflict are finding their way back to TRADOC and passing on their hard-learned lessons to the next generation of soldiers.
After OIF 1 and 2, soldiers start to deploy and come back. Now TRADOC start to pick up a lot of those veterans that came out of the war, and they are now in TRADOC. And at the same time, to backfill those soldiers back into those units, you will get a lot of TRADOC soldiers, I'm sure, that now will come out of our positions and go and backfill the deployed units. So after a couple of years, you will probably find a large number of veterans in this command who have now been deployed and returned.
You can stay up to date on changes in Army training by visiting Training and Doctrine Command's home on the web at tradoc.army.mil. And that's a Soldiers Radio News special report, TRADOC Transformation. From the Association of the U.S. Army meeting in Washington, D.C., I'm Sergeant Mike Levine.
Around the corner or around the globe. Information Tickets and Travel Offices now exclusively handles leisure travel for USAFE personnel and their families. ITT is a full-service travel agency, booking package holidays, train and airline tickets, rental cars, cruises, and more. Make the most of your off time. Whether you're exploring your host country or discovering the rest of Europe, ITT makes booking your leisure travel fast and easy.
From the post to the field,
interactive software.
From the schoolhouse to your house,
Video teletraining courses.
Training for an entire unit or an individual soldier.
CD-ROM courseware.
Distance learning makes it happen. Log on to catc.7atc.army.mil. Find out how the Combined Arms Training Center and cutting-edge technology brings training to USARA's soldiers when and where they need it.
catc.7atc.army.mil.
Discover distance learning.
Looking for a website to answer questions about your tour in Europe? DutyEurope.Navy.mil is the solution. It answers housing, school, MWR activities, and education questions. Plus, it's got something for the traveler, wherever you may go in Europe. European destinations, directions on how to get there, and European life. DutyEurope.Navy.mil is the one website that has it all. Whether you're a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, or family member, there's something for everyone. Enjoy your duty in Europe, wherever you may go, and get the info you need. DutyEurope.Navy.mil.
I'm looking for 2 tickets to Paradise. How much is that?
Sorry, Paradise is all booked up.
But I packed my bags. I want to leave tonight.
Nothing like that here at Berlin Business Travel Agency.
You can't get me to the Paradise City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty?
Nope. You want to go to your USAFE Information, Tickets, and Travel office for that.
And ITT will get me where I want to go?
If that's what you really want. But I can get you on a bus trip to Hades. Interested?
I'll just see what ITT has first.
There were 2 apostles named Simon who followed Jesus. Simon Zelotes is the one we know the least about. Someone has observed, of the millions who visit St. Peter's in Rome, no one thinks of Simon Zelotes, the unknown apostle. It was for the first Simon, Simon Peter, that the basilica was built. In Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, The Last Supper, Simon Zelotes is portrayed at the far left of the table, standing quietly and unobtrusively behind all the others. This has become a mark of his character. Unknown and unrecognized, Simon Zelotes propped up the message of God's love without pursuing some personal ambition that could interfere with the extension of the kingdom. He decreased as Christ increased, and tradition tells us that he preached the gospel to Africa, Britain, and Persia, where he was martyred. There are many who become discouraged because their efforts are not recognized or appreciated. Often forgotten, such people comprise the great majority of saints who have quietly challenged and changed this world. But they're not forgotten by God, and their heroic work will be revealed on that great day when the record books of heaven are finally opened. We'll hear of those strangers who so kindly treated us, of those who dared to love the unlovely, who secretly gave of themselves to impart the eternal riches of God's grace in mercy and kindness. We shall sing praise for those who so quietly blessed us by their prayers, and celebrate those who remembered, even when we forgot. It has been a principle of saintliness to follow Simon's example by going out into the world to become unknown while making God's love known. And when we secretly bring God's blessings to our world, heaven takes note. How many times has such a person crossed your path? Better yet, how many times have you been the quiet blessing in another's life? Let's follow Simon's example. When we do, all of heaven rejoices. This is Chaplain Mark Johnston encouraging you to walk with the apostles.
16 minutes away from the hour, Morning News Watch rolling to a close on our final day of broadcasting from our studios in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone. Coming up next on the program, your sports page. They'll be recapping the end of the curse of the Bambino. The Red Sox winning the World Series for the first time since 1918. Congratulations to all the Red Sox fans out there who've lived through the memories of Bucky Dent and Bill Buckner, to name a few, not to mention the Big Red Machine crushing their spirits in 1975. The Red Sox finally tasting victory. Details of that and much more coming up next in your sports page. And then in about 5 minutes, we'll have more with AFN pioneer Herb Glover and AFN's news director Gary Bautell talking about the history of AFN in Frankfurt. Stay with us.
Now, the AFN sports page.
More talks, but no progress in the National Hockey League labor dispute. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Allen. Negotiators for the National Hockey League and its players' union finally met Wednesday in New York, but they stayed away from the contract dispute. The two sides discussed various topics in their first face-to-face meeting in over a month. However, the league lockout was not the focus of the talks. Hockey News senior editor Mark Brender says no TV exposure is hurting the sport.
The major problem is the lack of a TV deal to fund the kind of salaries that they're paying right now.
And he says one of the problems of the league has been the lack of offense.
The league has been saying probably for 5, 6, 7 years that they want to try to increase scoring. They want to try to give offensive players more room. They haven't done it.
And the bad news for the 2004-2005 season?
The way that the parties have taken their hardline stances and the fact that the personalities in Bob Goodenow and Gary Bettman, neither one of them is eager to lose face, which is what it looks like will have to happen to get a deal done, suggests that you probably won't have a season.
And Brender explains why the National Hockey League is considering the use of replacement players.
Their only rationale in using replacement players would be as a way to break the union and have individual NHL players come back under the terms that the NHL's already set.
But he explains why the National Hockey League should not use replacement players.
The specter of using replacement players has come into things, and I think that's a scenario nobody would want to see. It would tarnish the NHL's reputation even more than it already has been.
In baseball news, the curse of the Bambino is no more. The Boston Red Sox are World Series champions. Boston sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals in 4 straight, winning the 4th game 3-0. Johnny Damon put the Sox ahead to stay with a leadoff home run, and Trot Nixon's 2-run double in the 3rd inning gave the Red Sox some breathing room. And question to Kevin Millar of the Red Sox, just exactly when did you guys think you had a shot at this?
We're just so carefree, huh? We kind of were like, okay, let's go out and win Game 4. And then we knew we had Pedro and Schilling going 5 and 6, so we knew we were going to push to the Game 7. We had confidence. We gave due respect to the other teams, the Yankees, the Cardinals were a great team, and you know, we did it.
Yes, they did. The win exercises the curse of the Bambino, which supposedly started after the Red Sox dealt Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees before the 1920 season. In National Football League news, Washington linebacker LeVar Arrington and kicker John Hall were out of practice on Wednesday, and they have been listed as doubtful for Sunday's game against Green Bay. That's the sports page. I'm Ken Allen, AFN Sport.
This is a Pentagon Channel report. They used to be just for fun, but now video games can serve a serious purpose in today's military.
In the Army National Guard, you are the protector of the nation.
The name of the game is Guard Force. Used as a recruitment tool, it's more than just a shoot 'em up.
It's very much a good introduction to what the Army National Guard is all about.
In the Army National Guard, you can make a difference.
Lift them away. Commissioned by the Pentagon, it's called Joint Force Employment and teaches valuable lessons.
That's a training tool for the various branches of the military to teach the proper operation and procedure for interacting with the different branches of the service.
Earlier this month, serious video game vendors exhibited the latest products at a summit held in Washington, D.C. Here, electronic action games and today's soldiers seem like a good fit.
Every soldier that enters the military today is part of the video game generation. They bond with video games very quickly. They understand button mashing, button pressing, and they like the engagement.
And many of the scenarios in games like Squad Tactics have applications that would prove useful in the current war in Iraq.
The enemy is fast, he's somewhat organized, he knows the terrain, he has the indigenous peoples that support him typically, and he can blend into the woodwork very quickly.
The United States military stands as the most powerful fighting force on the face of the earth.
There's a lot of value in just the engagement of the gaming approach to training. It's not there in the normal approach to training.
I'm Army Sergeant Daisy Bueno for the Pentagon Channel.
10 minutes away from the hour and 10 minutes away from the end of our morning Newswatch experience here in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone as we look back at history and look forward to what lies ahead in our new headquarters building in Mannheim. Joining me in the studio once again, the venerable Herb Glover, longtime AFNer and veteran of military broadcasting. He's been joining us throughout the morning to look back at this facility as we close it down. And our current AFN news director, Gary Bautell, also in our studios. And gentlemen, we've gone through the history of AFN, how it started in England and moved on to the mainland during the war, and finally settling in Frankfurt, Germany here in the area on the north side of town, on the north side of Frankfurt. And eventually, though, the troops moved away from Frankfurt, and there was a drawdown in Germany and in Europe, and we became very isolated here, which led to the decision to start looking for a new home for the headquarters. And Herb, you were involved as the broadcast operations director. You were involved with that search back in the, I guess it started in the mid-90s?
96, 97, 98, somewhere along in there. We started looking for a home. And we looked all over Germany at some really interesting locations. We looked at a film studio, I remember, Bavaria Films, which is located over in Wiesbaden, up on the hill overlooking the city. We looked at some casernes. We looked at a caserne in Darmstadt, the Frankenstein caserne. We even looked, Scott, at a champagne factory that had been closed, but it had a huge sound stage inside, a lot of space. We looked all over this place, but finally, the thing I think that really drove it is, number one, being closer to the audiences we serve, and number two, being behind the wire because of the threats. Here in Frankfurt, I don't mind telling you, we're sitting out pretty much in the open, but to be behind the wire in a place like Coleman Barracks in Mannheim just gives the broadcasters and the people who work there a lot more security.
On a major installation.
Yeah.
And, of course, being closer to the troops, Gary, our news director, Gary Bautell, can talk about how it's going to make his job a little bit easier in covering some of the major military news events in Europe.
Right, Scott. In fact, there's a helicopter base right next to our studios. Maybe we can get a couple of pilots to help us out, get to some stories more quickly than we would normally.
AFN Action News.
Yeah, exactly. We get around pretty good, even out of Frankfurt, but what this is going to facilitate, of course, is instead of a half-an-hour drive or an hour drive to get to a major headquarters like the U.S. Army Europe Command or 5th Corps, it's down the street. It's 15, 20 minutes away, and they have greater accessibility to us. They can come and visit us in our studios perhaps more frequently and do a little one-on-one on the air. As far as the reporters are concerned, well, our mission, of course, is not just Germany. It's all over Europe and into Iraq, of course, and other places that we never dreamed we would ever be covering news stories.
Now, with every move that we've made, there's been a major advance with technology, and with that comes, hopefully, an opportunity to better serve the audience. What do you think will be the benefits from a technological side moving into this new building with all the great new equipment?
The new facility is indeed super. I mean, it is state-of-the-art in every way. What the reporters will have available to them is a system, a laptop computer system, which allows them to edit both audio and video. They can put their news stories together on the spot, complete with effects and information, textual information over the video. They can transmit images to us. They can put reports up on our website almost instantaneously. And of course, radio is a very fast medium, and it's going to get even faster now. It'll enable us to get to a story and get the information back to our audience, both radio and television, at a much faster rate than we've ever done before, and I think in probably in a more complete way. We'll be able to cover the story from many more sides than we used to be able to, especially with the advent of satellite relayed programs that we're now doing out of Iraq, for example. We've done 2 live newscast feeds via satellite. All of this technology is going to, it's hard to find an adjective to describe the jump we're making into this new era of broadcasting.
Quantum plus.
Okay.
Now, Herb, you've been in Europe for many years. Now you've retired about 1.5 years ago, and you've come back for this special event. But looking back over the years, how many people's lives do you think AFN has touched, especially not just the Americans, but also local nationals on the economy?
Well, you know, there was a survey done by, remember Radio Luxembourg did a survey many years ago, and they were surveying their audience. But one of the results of the audience showed that AFN had between 28 and 30 million European listeners. But we did some calculations with the help of DoD personnel people, and we figured that over the years AFN, and this is conservatively estimated, at least between 12 and 15 million GIs have been stationed in Europe since the end of World War II, not to mention you know, the millions of family members and DoD employees. Basically, the vast majority of these individuals have returned to the United States and continued on with their lives. The role of AFN, the role that it was once playing, is all but forgotten. But, you know, those are the golden days of radio, and now we're in the digital era. But, you know, the job isn't done. The job, just because we're leaving this building, it's not the first time AFN has moved. This is just another era, another move, another transition.
Now, for our listeners who are wondering about the move and how it's going to affect their ability to pick up AFN, we are broadcast in Germany on a major transmitter on 873 AM. Any changes that you're aware of about that?
That will continue for the time being. In fact, this entire shift should be totally transparent to the audience, right, Gary?
Yeah, there's going to be some changes in the way we present television news. We've got a new graphics package, a new sound. We're going to make some changes in the features we offer. A lot of things as far as improving the quality of the radio and television product, which we do all the time. We do it here, we'll do it in the new building. But the audience shouldn't see any change in the way they get their programs or how they get their programs. I mean, that digital signal that they can pick up has recently been expanded by 2 more television channels. That kind of progress will continue. But from this week to next week, there certainly shouldn't be anything happening that would tell them, oops, now they're in Mannheim.
You know what we've said for all these years, Scott? As long as you're here talking to the troops, as long as you're here, we're here. And the important mission that we've always carried out of informing and entertaining the warfighter, I don't think is ever more important than it is today. And to do that effectively and to do that with grace, for the military broadcaster, believe me, there's no greater honor.
It's been an honor having both of you here today. When I close out this edition, this will be our last morning news watch from Frankfurt. Tomorrow morning, Air Force Sergeant Bill Hickman and Air Force Sergeant Autumn White will be co-hosting Morning News Watch from our new facilities. I know there's going to be a ceremony tomorrow marking the beginning of operations in Mannheim, Germany, and both of you will be there. What can you tell us about that?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, the new building is named in honor of an AFN veteran. It will be dedicated on the 8th of November as the Robert J. Harlan European Broadcast Center. Many of us in the studio this morning worked with Bob Harlan during the time he was program director. He spent some 38 years with this network, and I think it's fitting and appropriate that the new broadcast center be established and dedicated in his honor, and we'll be doing that, and we're very proud of the fact that they've chosen his name to put on that building.
Oh, and Scott, we want to thank you very much. I mean, you're suffering from this cold, and it's obviously getting to your throat muscles, but you did a great job today. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate both of you coming in to look back at the history of this building and the history of AFN in Frankfurt. It's been a long and wild ride.
Stay tuned.
It's coming to a close, but a new generation, a new era begins tomorrow here on AFN. You can tune in tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Hopefully you won't notice any difference, but we will have Air Force Sergeant Bill Hickman and Autumn White tomorrow morning live from our new studios in Mannheim, Germany. We will have one more evening news watch here in Frankfurt. Army Sergeant Pashan Allen will be along today at 4 o'clock for Evening News Watch. Tune in for that program today, her last in Frankfurt as well. I'm Army Sergeant Scott Malone for Herb Glover and Gary Bautell. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day. So long.